All right, this is now the second study in Jude. Today we're going to look at 5, 6, and 7. But just by way of reminder, remember what this book is about. He says, I'm writing with the appeal that you would contend for the faith. That means fight. Fight for it. Implying it's under attack. Further implying it is worth defending. And I think the main reason why, well, it's from God, but God doesn't intend that it ever change. It is once for all. When he delivered it through Jesus and through his apostles, it is the definitive standard forever. And as culture changes and philosophies change from one century to the next, it is forever. Keep in mind this one point. There has never been a generation of philosophers, who did not think that they were the ones who had the right idea. It's always a generation that comes afterwards that picks apart what happened beforehand. The faith, however, is forever. And he mentions a certain group of people who crept in unnoticed. Well, where'd they creep in? Presumably right into the church. He's writing to Christians. He's saying they have crept in. Though they are designated for condemnation because they're ungodly. They are perverting the grace of our God into sensuality. They're saying that God's grace allows them to be sensual creatures, to do whatever they want with their bodies. And thereby, they are denying our Master and Lord Jesus the Christ. Because they're doing whatever they want with their body, which is in essence saying, you're not my Master, you're not my Lord, you're not my Christ. Now, let's pick up in 5, 6, and 7. Now, I want to remind you, although you once fully knew it, that Jesus, who saved a people out of the land of Egypt, so a people who came out of Egypt, this is Israel. It says that afterward he destroyed those who did not believe. So this is a portion of these Israelites. A portion of the Israelites who didn't believe were destroyed. All right, another example. And the angels, even the angels, who did not stay within their own position of authority. I don't really like that. I think it more literally, here in verse 6, he says the angels not keeping their authority, but deserting the proper habitation. This word here, position, isn't there. He's more talking about a realm in which there was an authority. It was their proper dwelling place, and they just left it. I am going to do a series preaching through this on findingcanaan.org in the next couple of months, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But the idea here is that of rebellion. They were in God's keeping. They were in God's realm, and they left that to go do whatever they wanted. But these angels, he says he has, because of what they did, he's kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day. So, you just can't get around these words he keeps bringing up. Condemnation for these people. Destruction for these people. Eternal chains for these angels. Judgment. And then he gives another example in verse 7, just as, let me just give you one more example. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example by undergoing a punishment of eternal fire. So this whole thing is about the judgment day and punishment and all that. Now, as I said, I will preach a series that kind of gets into the more nuanced ideas, what's going on with these angels, what's he have in mind with the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and all that. But here, I just want the big picture. If you zoom out, looking at these first couple verses, these certain people are right in the middle of the church, presenting themselves as righteous, preaching to Christians. They would no doubt have called themselves Christians. That's one of these groups. These are just so-called. They're not real Christians, but they would say they are Christians. There's these people he saved out of Egypt. These are Jews. Angels. And then these who are in Sodom and Gomorrah, the surrounding cities. Those are Gentiles. Just consider that breakdown of people. That's the broadest possible description of every demographic that exists besides God. Christians, Jews, angels, Gentiles. He's trying to say it doesn't matter which of those you are. There is still a potential for judgment. Judgment is possible for any of these demographics. So one of the points that he's making is that God is no respecter of persons. God's not going to say, oh, you have the name, you got the right name, or you got the right demographic, or you got the right position of authority. There's potential for destruction. And the way that he breaks it down are those who did not believe, those who left, they did not keep themselves in the right authority, they did not stay where they were allotted to be. So there's rebellion, so there's unbelief, rebellion, and then down here, sexual immorality. So I would say just sexual deviancy of any sort. And then, of course, back here at the beginning, just general sensuality. This is not necessarily about sex. This is just anything with your body that you think you just have freedom to do. If you're doing any of those things, it doesn't matter which of these groups you are. There is and will be an awaited judgment. And, the point of this is to say, go back to the start of this and look at what Jude is telling us to be doing. Contend for the faith, not only for yourself, but for those around you who may be swept away by heresy. Contend for the faith for the sake of your children who are going to stand before God. Do it for the sake of your town and your people. Do it for your own self. Do it for the next generation. The standard of God is once for all. It's never changing. And if we are unbelieving or generally rebellious or sexually deviant, it's consider the culture right now. That's what we're all about. What standard does our culture have for sex? There's none. The faith has a standard that we are to be fighting for. Because it doesn't matter if we call ourselves Christians or Jews or whatever. There will be judgment if we don't stand up for that. And Jude is going to continue on, and we'll get to it eventually, to talk about saving others out of the fire and saving ourselves as well. So let's fight for the faith.